Hey guys, and welcome back to finally another Until Dawn video. Now this video is my very much procrastinated Until Dawn Remake review video, in which I'll be going through my thoughts on the Until Dawn Remake. I'll be going through the graphics, gameplay, and new content that the remake had brought, and I'll also be going through anything else that is new within this remake. Then by the end of the review, I'll be scoring it out of 10, and I'll also be going through any Until Dawn news and what I think it means for anything related in the future. Now with all that said and done, let's finally start this review by starting with the graphics. Now, way back when the Until Dawn Remake was announced, we were told that the graphics were going to be remade for PS5 and PC. Now, Until Dawn is already an amazingly realistic and beautiful game in terms of graphics, so I think we were all pretty curious to see what could be enhanced. And I would have to say that we were all pretty surprised to see the graphics when the remake came out. The texture and faces of characters, especially when they're injured, has a striking difference from the original game to the remake. I feel like the best example is Jess's start versus her finish. Every cut that she sustains, every bruise, feels a lot more painful, especially with the new animations that the game brings. Also, the environments with the better lighting and the better detail put into the woods and the caves, making them feel more dense and more gritty, just making them feel overall more real. Also, the elements look way more refined and detailed, like the snow and the water within the environments. For example, take this shot with Jess, her falling into the water from the remake. Then compare it to the original game.
Oh my god!
Definitely a graphical improvement from the 2015 release. Let's talk more about the lighting too. The new lighting feature that they added to the beginning of the game where it's daytime, makes the environment look a lot more warm and inviting, and then transitions to a very dark, cold, mysterious place. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of it, especially attuned to the blue tint from the original game. However, I think it looks amazing and added some more new content that made the characters look outstanding, and especially the environments. When gameplay was discussed for the remake, it was a given that the original camera system that you have from the 2015 release was going to be rebuilt for a behind-the-shoulder, third-person perspective camera. It was also presumed that there was going to be a controllable running feature from the remake's gameplay trailers. However, this wasn't a full truth. Although the new camera style was fun to experience for new and old players of the game, a controllable running feature would have been a lot nicer. Gameplay in the remake feels a lot more accessible, but hugely slower. It's more of a drag to replay the remake without the ability to walk faster, something the original game had. There were slight running jumps that the characters would make in bigger explorable areas that honestly made me a lot more upset playing this game. Because I feel like if they already redid the running animations in general, we should have been able to control it. It would have made replaying the game to see any changes a lot better. Okay, so I might be a little upset talking about this one. I think we all as a community knew what this remake needed when it was announced, and then we were all disappointed when we found out that the content that we wanted wasn't there. Here's a simple list to break down the new content that the remake featured. Now you might be thinking, that's a lot of content, but when the remainder of the game remains 85% the same, it doesn't feel like it at all. Let me go into this list. The new prologue was definitely the best thing in terms of new content added. It was a nice introduction to the remake, making us feel a little bit skeptical of what was to come. Adding new animations with scenes that made us feel even worse about the prank pulled on Hannah and diminishing our idea of the friends responsible.
You guys are jerks. You know that? Hannah!
With that, they also added multiple new explorable areas for characters that enhanced and expanded upon the world of Until Dawn just a little bit more. But I can't lie and say that this was amazing, considering most of the major explorable areas that they added were given to the characters with the most playtime, which is definitely something I don't feel like they needed to do. Especially when there's other characters that are lacking quite a lot of playtime. The new camera system that they added, this over-the-shoulder third-person point of view, was a nice addition to the remake. However, I still wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was a lot like The Quarry, which is of course related to Until Dawn. However, I feel like they could have placed it in a better position that showcased more of the character you're playing or the environment. That would have been nice. However, they definitely did a really good job at showcasing new shots of already familiar scenes that we've seen from the original. There is rarely ever a scene with the same camera shot from the original game. There's quite a bit of examples that I will showcase here. But it was definitely nice to see some of these new camera angles to these scenes, because honestly, I think that some of them are definitely better than the original. And it was fun to see some more cinematic, amazing shots of this beautiful game. So, new collectibles were a given when the Until Dawn Remake was announced. The developers made multiple announcements saying that there was going to be a new totem type, and they were going to be rehiding all of the original totems, among all other things. The new collectibles were a nice little cherry on top of the very large cake that the remake provided. I definitely thought it was fun to find the snow globe and shake it with Sam. That was nice. And also to find that video camera in the prologue with photos of the friends. That was probably the best collectible that they added in this remake. In terms of them hiding the original totem placements, they did not really succeed in that front whatsoever. There are multiple examples of the totems being exactly or almost close to where they should have been in the original game. And there was also multiple totems placed in new spots that were just completely not needed. They shouldn't have been placed there in the first place, especially when they're right next to a scene that's about to happen. But besides all that, the hunger totems were a nice little addition, showing us the aftermath of Hannah transforming into a Wendigo, and that was a really cool scene to see. The new soundtrack, curated by Mark Corvin for this remake, wasn't a terrible attempt to replace the original soundtrack whatsoever. I do feel like the soundtrack for this game definitely has a more gritty vibe to it that kind of still matches the tone for this game and story. But I feel as though the originals is hard to beat, where it just adds this amazing, fantastical horror vibe to the game that this one definitely lacked. I do love the opening theme though. It is really nice. It definitely feels at home within this remake. So Mark did an amazing job there. Not to mention the other songs added within this remake, like the one going in for the kill during Hannah's prank, felt amazingly paired with that scene. And also the intro music, Out from the Shadows by May Steffens, an amazing, amazing choice that wasn't Oh Death, which I know a lot of people would say is inferior to, but I think that it still feels right at home with the Until Dawn, and I think that I could put Oh Death and Out from the Shadows on the same level.
Pretty good, right?
A new ending for the Until Dawn remake was made into effect when we found out that there was actually a way that Josh could survive. There's a butterfly effect set up in the game that can guarantee Josh's survival and keeping his sanity intact. It's a really good ending, especially it leaves off a good cliffhanger for the additional game they teased at the end of this game. Also, more Josh content was always needed in the works. There's a lot of fans of Josh out there, and they must have been happy when they saw that he could live.
But it's a game that has driven you to one of your own deepest fears, Joshua. Isolation. It's terrible. Isolation. And I hope for your sake, Joshua, that you can find redemption.
My clothes, really?
The new game they teased at the end seems to be a sequel to Until Dawn, where we see Sam in Los Angeles years after the events happening at Blackwood Mountains, suffering from some PTSD. Let me go ahead and show you the clip that they sent over from the remake.
I'm up! I'm up!
Sam.
It looks very interesting. I'm really hoping that if there is something like this in the future, that Sam isn't the only primary character that comes back from the original game. But nevertheless, I'm excited for it regardless. It looks very interesting. The Until Dawn Remake's new intro is definitely on par to the original one with the Song of O Death. It is very similar in a lot of ways, except of course new scenes, better effects, and they did change the role or the order of the cast that was presented at the beginning of the game. Also, this intro just felt really good. After we get the new prologue, we get this new stunning intro that roll calls the cast and has the new song Out of the Shadows with it, giving you that fresh experience that maybe something else is afoot.
I'm just looking out for my girlfriend.
There were some added new voice lines from some old cast members of the Until Dawn crew that were added to this remake. And unfortunately, I believe they were only like maybe 3 new voice lines. I know that Dr. Hill gave us a new voice line if you do decide to replay the game and try and save one of the twins in the beginning. And Jessica has a new voice line, and so does Mike after she scares him by going missing to the blocked off cabin trail. But besides all of that, I don't believe there's any new voice lines that the game gave us, which is very unfortunate, and it's kind of annoying how they only brought in Megan Martin and Peter Stormare for only one new voice line. I find that kind of crazy. The missing Matt and Emily chapter that was present in the base game but was later made into a pre-order bonus and as a bonus in European countries or stores where if you bought it, you would get it, was annoying to say the least, especially for people who are fans, because a lot, I want to say majority of Until Dawn's fan base, or yeah, most of it, is in America, so none of them could get this bonus chapter, and especially if you are a fan of Matt and Emily, this chapter does a lot to adding to their relationship, and the choices in this actually affect voice lines later on in the game, which is unfortunate that you can't get this regardless in the original game without buying it from Europe now. But they added it to the remake, and it's technically not new content, but they did add a new explorable section in it where Matt can find a baby doll of Hannah's, so I guess that's something. At least people who don't even know the game or are fans of the game can finally enjoy this bonus chapter that was pretty much lost from the original game. So I guess that's nice. With all of this new content that the remake had added, every single little new collectible, every single graphical enhancement, the one thing that they didn't do, that this game needed, was more time with Matt, Jess, and Josh. These characters are seriously not shown in the game whatsoever. Josh has his moments, yes, but he is not playable throughout the entire game until the absolute last chapter. And the same can be said with Jessica. She has no playable segments whatsoever until the very last chapter. She has literally a little walking segment that you can do at the very beginning of the game. That's it though. You can make like, what, one choice, and then it just moves over to Chris and Sam heading down to the lodge with Matt and Emily. It is absolutely ridiculous that even though you brought in Megan Marin to do new voice lines for her character Jessica, that you didn't even think to give her a new scene or new content that would have been amazing for all the fans out there. I just can't. I guarantee, mostly, every single Until Dawn fan agrees that these characters needed more screen time. It's like they just decided, oh, Jessica and Matt can die at the very earliest, so they just, can't have any single, amount of screen time possible. And I understand, Jessica being missing was a setup for Ashley to get killed later on. But what's Matt's excuse? He literally was in the mines for 4 chapters. You could have added a playable segment of Matt walking through the mines with a new explorable area. I know that they have some extra voice lines in the bank, and I understand they probably couldn't get Jordan Fisher to get some new voice lines for Matt in this remake. But who knows if they even tried? If they could even have tried to do this. I completely don't understand. Oh, and I didn't even mention the price of this game. When it came out, it is $60 US for this remake, for the amount of content I was talking about before, for the enhancements, for everything. $60 for a game that came out about 9 years ago. About 9 years ago, that was almost better, if not the same, than this remake. It's actually unbelievable. And I understand, Ballistic Moon is a new studio, but for a new studio that is absolutely obsessed with Until Dawn, that followed it, and I believe this was a partial remaining team of the original foundation of the game. So they know what the community wants, they know what the community has wanted for the past couple years, and yet they don't act on it. They don't add anything for Jessica, for Matt. They added a new ending for Josh, which was nice. That's fine. But they added a new game with Sam as the protagonist again? Don't get me wrong, I do love Sam. I just think that she has way too much screen time in this game compared to other characters, and you already know. So, with all of that off of my chest, I can confidently give the Until Dawn Remake a 7 out of 10. This game, if you are completely new to Until Dawn, I would say go ahead and buy it. Probably maybe wait until it's on sale, because $60 for this game is ridiculous. At that point, I just suggest you get the original, because it's pretty much the same game, if not in some places better than the remake, and it's for $20, a third of the price. In terms of any Until Dawn news, the Until Dawn movie does come out really soon, in 20 days, I believe, on the 25th of April this year. It is very much unrelated to the game in a lot of ways. I believe the only reoccurring things are Dr. Hill's actor Peter Stormare makes an appearance, Wendigos are present in the movie, and they share the same theme of dying and dying over and over again with the game. But besides all of that, there's no other connections to the game besides a couple of Easter eggs here and there.
Oh my god, you must be freezing. Here.
And in terms of this new game that was teased at the end of the remake, Ballistic Moon, the company that did make this remake, has actually been revealed to have been shut down effectively. So the company is out of the business for the time being, because the sales for this remake were not the best whatsoever. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I feel like, what were you expecting when you're charging that much for a remake of a game with really no new content whatsoever besides, you know, the graphical enhancements? And it makes me feel really bad too, because I like Ballistic Moon. I like their style. I loved their passion for this project. But you could have priced it differently. You could have added a lot more content that was better and that was more for the fans. I feel like that would have been a better choice than the stuff that they did add. So that second Until Dawn game is most likely not going to happen. Who knows? But it's unlikely at this point in time. Now, with everything said and done, I hope you all enjoyed this Until Dawn Remake review video, and I'm sorry that it took so long to put out. I appreciate any support you could give me that might help with my motivation for any more videos. I would appreciate. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you.